It's time for more Manifesting Original Rich Bitch Experiences. Each week, we're talking travel, wellness, and millennial musings with a level of refinement. What level? It fucking depends. I'm your host, Ava Bilkey. Welcome back to the More Pod. One of the questions that I get asked most frequently is, how do I keep some sort of routine while I'm traveling? How do I maintain a level of consistency? And so I thought that would be a great subject to dive into today, because having a level of consistency when you travel is incredibly important. Consistency in maintaining healthy habits really supports your physical and mental well-being. And so, whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, there is something to be said for consistency. When you do maintain healthy habits when you're traveling, I've noticed that it really helps you to increase your productivity, for a lack of a better term. You can get more done. You can do all the things that you're hoping to do on your travels. Keeping a routine also reduces stress. If you think about all of the million things that we spend our time and brain space on every single day, having a level of routine can really help minimize some of that stress that may come from wondering where your next meal is coming from or how you're going to get from point A to point B. And really, it helps improve your overall well being. And I think it's important to realize that just because you are traveling doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice your health or your routine or throw a major wrench in the consistency that you create when you are at home. And I want to add that consistency is not synonymous with rigidity. And what I mean by this is a level of flexibility within your consistent routine while you're traveling is really healthy. So, while we're going to share the ways in which consistency and keeping your habits intact while traveling are really beneficial, it's not to say you can't live a little. I'm the first one who's like, woo, throw it all out the window. We're on vacation, baby. But I've learned the hard way over time that that's not the best approach. Consistency with your routines is important and necessary, and it is what keeps you feeling well throughout your entire travel time frame. Feeling like shit is out. We don't do that anymore. Feeling good is in, and it feels good to feel good wherever you may find yourself on your travels. The best ways that I've found to stay consistent while I'm traveling are to maintain a level of normalcy in the areas of morning routine, staying active, sticking to some type of an eating routine, and maintaining bedtime rituals. So let's get into that. The best way to set yourself up for success when you're traveling is to maintain your morning routine and really take it on the road with you. The two things that are guaranteed, regardless of where you find yourself in the world, are one, we're waking up in the morning, and two, we're going to bed at night. So keeping the morning routine is a very natural experience. You know, when you open your eyes in the morning, that you've brought your morning routine with you and it's there to support you. You save so much brain space in the morning by streamlining and keeping your same morning routine. You don't have to wake up and stress out and wonder where your cup of coffee is coming from or what you're going to have for breakfast or where you're going to wear. If you can really smooth out that piece of your day, it makes whatever you're going to take on for the rest of the day just go so much more smoothly. Not to mention, you're going to feel so much better if you take that time first thing in the morning to do something for yourself in the form of self care. And in this case, that is sticking to your morning routine. Everyone has a bit of a different morning routine. For me, what I like to keep consistent when I travel is my morning coffee, some level of breakfast, the supplements I take in the morning, and my morning face care routine. All of that just helps me feel really good. I prioritize space in my bags, my suitcase, for those items. If that means that I have to travel with one less pair of shoes, I absolutely will. Because again, having the morning routine packed up and with me makes everything else just work. And so think about what your morning routine is when you're at home, and then which pieces of that you can ensure that you are bringing with you. So, packing those supplements, preparing the night before you wake up with having your water or your coffee or whatever it may be that you feel like you need. Maintaining the morning routine is the most important piece of staying consistent while traveling. The next key to maintaining a level of consistency when you're traveling is to try to stay active. If you can maintain a level of exercise, it might not be your usual workout. It might not be your 5 days a week in the gym or whatever it is that you like to do. But the goal is to simply ensure that you stay moving. And there are a lot of ways to do this, especially now. There are so many apps, mobile phone apps, that support yoga, meditation, HIIT exercise classes, things that you can do on the road. And having a subscription to a gym or a studio that offers a mobile app is a really great way to stay active on the road. You could also take a virtual class. So maybe it's not pre recorded like on an app, but it's something live and virtual that you can join. If you're staying at a hotel, hitting the hotel gym is a great way to get some movement in. Depending on where you are, if you're staying in a walkable city, like walk as much as you can and then, hop in a taxi or a Lyft when you get tired of walking, for example. Or if you're at the beach somewhere, do a beach walk. It's all about getting creative. But I think that making time for staying active while you're traveling is a really important piece of the routine and maintaining those consistent habits. And again, this one goes so far for your mental health and just keeping those endorphins flowing, keeping your mindset positive, relieving stress. I mean, I could go on and on about the benefits of exercise, of course, but regardless of where you find yourself on your travels, I think it's important to make time, even if it's just a little bit of time, less than you might normally when you're at home, to stay active. I know for me, I have a virtual personal training session that's on my calendar every single Friday. And what I love about this is that I do this session from my laptop with minimal equipment and mostly body weight. So I have some bands, I have a block. I will actually pack those with me and travel with those things because they don't take up much space. And this has been a really awesome way for me to continue hitting my weekly training session workout, regardless of where I am. I even dialed in from a wedding in the Dominican Republic at one point. Like, that's a level of dedication I have going on here, but it's just once a week. So it feels totally doable. And after I've done that workout, I just feel so much better. I feel like I've done something really good for myself. And whatever the rest of the day brings, it's like, I'm ready for it. Let's go. If the purpose of your travels is to really get outside of your daily routine, then you might want to mix it up. So, last summer, I actually took a break from these workouts for a couple of months. And it was just nice to break up the routine because, again, this is something I do every single week of every single year, basically. So if you feel like you do need a little bit more freedom or you're craving that space away from your specific routine at home, supplement it with something else. I took a break when I was in London, and London is an incredibly walkable city. And so while I wasn't doing those training sessions, I was walking like 15,000 steps a day, you know, and that was significantly more than I was used to walking at home. And so that was a nice trade off. And everyone's going to have a different level of desire in terms of how closely you stick to this routine. But the idea is really just prioritizing movement in some way, whether that's the same way you do it at home or not. So, the next way to stay consistent when you're traveling is to try to maintain some degree of an eating routine. And I think this one is the trickiest because part of what's so great about traveling and being in different places is trying different foods, right? But I've had this really backfire for me when I throw my regular sort of eating habits out the window. So, if you're someone that follows a special diet of some sort, whether you're gluten-free or dairy-free or vegetarian or vegan, you're going to have to be mindful of what you're eating while you're traveling. And you may be tempted to throw your eating habits out the window. And if that's what you want to do, like go off. I wish you the best. But this could land you in some less than desirable situations. Personally, I follow a mostly gluten-free, dairy-free diet, and every once in a while, I just risk it all. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. So it actually worked out well for me when I was traveling in Italy. And in Italy, I was consuming pasta and pizza and all sorts of great dishes that included bread of some sort. And while I'm normally gluten free at home, I actually wasn't impacted by consuming this gluten in Italy. And it is known that a lot of the wheat products in certain countries like Italy are actually much healthier than the ones you'll find in the US. And so for that reason, I could eat the pasta and the pizza and I still felt great. And damn, that was fun. I'm like, why can't the wheat be great in America? You know, that's a story for a different time. But this was an example of a moment where I did abandon some of my eating habits, but I was actually okay. Now, on the other hand, there have been times where I have ditched my eating habits while traveling, and it did not work out for me. One time, my best friend and I took a trip to Miami for her birthday, and we had a really early morning flight. And I knew myself well enough to know that I needed to get some sort of breakfast before getting on the plane because we didn't want to see hangry Ava. And so I was at the airport at Starbucks and was trying to find what I could grab for breakfast that would have a decent amount of protein and not so much sugar. And so I ended up getting a yogurt. And this was a wild choice when I look back on it because I don't really eat dairy. And what happens when you don't eat dairy often is that when you do eat dairy, your body's like, what the hell is this? So while the yogurt was high protein, it also created a highly turbulent situation in my stomach, if you know what I mean. And that whole first day of our trip from airport to going to bed that night, like the whole day, the whole flight, the whole first day in Miami, I had severe stomach issues. It was not cute. And the fact that I also have my bestie to vouch for this is also not cute, right? Like she was a witness to the whole thing, and it was just very unfortunate. And so this is an example of ditching my eating habits and really risking it all and not having it work out. So I think it's important to enjoy wisely. And while I would never suggest that you maintain a totally rigid, consistent diet, like exactly the same as you eat at home, I would recommend that you enjoy wisely. And if you're somebody that does have to think twice about getting the gelato or eating the pasta or trying meat, maybe you're somewhere that has a very carnivore heavy food style, approach with caution because if you risk it all, you may be rewarded and you may not. And not feeling well as a result of some interesting eating habits while you're traveling is really frustrating and it can really impact your travel experience. So, this is one that's definitely a double edged sword. You know, at the end of the day, it's important to be branching out and trying new things and enjoying the local cuisine, if you will. And it's also important to maintain eating habits that are going to keep your body happy and healthy. So use your best judgment on this one. The next area of consistency that is really important when you are traveling is your bedtime rituals. So, like I mentioned, we always wake up in the morning and we have our morning routines, and we always go to bed at night. And so, keeping your bedtime rituals consistent is another really great way to ensure that you are maintaining a level of equilibrium. Sleep solves everything. And so, making sure that you're getting enough sleep on your travels is incredibly important. If you're somebody who has a hard time falling asleep in different places, this one can be a bit tricky and frustrating. If you can do your best to maintain whatever nighttime rituals you have at home, I found that this can actually help you fall asleep and rest more easily, regardless of where you find yourself on your travels. So, when it comes to sleep, when you're traveling, I think it's really important to not focus on what time you're going to sleep and waking up, but really focusing on how many hours of sleep that you're actually getting. So, if you're somebody who sleeps 8 or 9 hours at home, you need to get those 8 or 9 hours on your travels. This is the important piece. It's not, oh, did I maintain my 9 p.m. bedtime? Because when you're traveling across time zones, that doesn't even mean anything. 9 p.m. in Des Moines, Iowa is completely different than 9 p.m. in Barcelona. So when you find yourself traveling, you may find yourself in a city that has a different nighttime culture. And you should lean into that. So if you find yourself staying up later than normal, like don't freak out about that. But do your best to ensure that you're getting the same amount of sleep that you know that you need to feel good the next day. Before I embarked on my digital nomad journey, I got some really great advice about little items or things that I could do consistently at bedtime to really help me ground into wherever it is that I find myself. And one of those suggestions that I absolutely love is traveling with your own pillowcase. And so I travel around with a silk pillowcase, and it brings me a level of familiarity or comfort just knowing that the pillow might be different, the bed might be different, the city, the state, the country, but there's something familiar about that pillowcase, and it helps me just feel like not everything is different. Like I feel like I do have that consistency. And that's a tip that I absolutely have been loving. It actually helps me fall asleep faster too, which I also love because again, I love sleep and sleep loves me. So important. Another thing that I do for my bedtime ritual is I have a white noise app on my phone and I turn on the same sound mix every night. So, again, this brings a level of consistency that really controls my sleep environment and feels nice and familiar. Other parts of a bedtime ritual could be something like using a pillow spray. Maybe you travel with lavender, essential oils, or anything else that you do at night. If you like to read a book before you go to bed, making sure you have that. If you like to journal before you go to sleep to free your mind, bringing that with you. Whatever you do at home at night, I'd encourage you to pack that up and bring it with you to the best of your ability. Just like the morning routine, packing your bedtime routine and having that with you is such a great way to maintain your habits and your consistency when you're traveling. Now, with all of these routines and rituals, the goal is consistency. But of course, when you're traveling, there are going to be obstacles. And so, whether that's jet lag or schedule requirements or suitcase restrictions, whatever obstacles you may face, just know that there will be a level of compromise that you'll have to make. But it's up to you to decide what it is and where you want to compromise. So, if you're somebody that has a pretty strong stomach and you feel like you can eat basically whatever, you might not have to maintain the highest level of consistency with your eating habits. And that's great. If you're somebody that is not a morning person at all, and you feel like the morning routine is the best way to support you when you're traveling, you'll need to prioritize that over everything else. You get the idea. It's about making a level of compromise, of course, but really picking out those areas that you think could be most helpful to you and supportive because the goal is to feel good. The goal is to be able to do everything you want to do when you're traveling, to keep up your normal schedule. And these habits really help you to do everything else it is that you want to do. So, there you have it. This is how I have found it easiest to maintain a level of consistency while I'm traveling. The morning routine, staying active, eating familiar foods, maintaining bedtime rituals. These are the things that I found most helpful, regardless of where I am in the world. And maintaining these habits really does make your travels more enjoyable. It's worth the space in your suitcase to put your mind and your body at ease. I would love to hear how you find consistency while you're traveling, what routines or things that you pack with you to help you feel more at home. Send those to me, send me a DM, let me know. And I hope that you found this helpful. So, if you're somebody that does tend to throw everything out the window and really YOLO every time you travel, I hope you take something away from this too. And just know that supporting yourself, your body, your well being is really going to help the overall experience. It's going to help you feel better so you can do more and be more and live your best life. So let's transition into this week's Love It or Leave It. Something that I've been absolutely loving lately is being a part of a couple of different mastermind groups. And masterminds are an opportunity for people to get together and really learn from one another. And I was thinking about it this week because I had a day where I actually had both of my masterminds on the same day. And at the end of the day, I just felt really optimistic and really focused on my goals in my business and really grateful to be in environments where I'm surrounded by fellow heart centered, conscious business owners who really just want to make a difference in the world. And being a part of these masterminds has really accelerated my personal and professional growth. And it's added a layer of accountability to my life that I was definitely needing. I share this with you if you're someone who feels like maybe you haven't really found your people or you're not currently surrounded by the types of people who inspire or motivate you to continue working on your goals. Finding an aligned mastermind group has really helped me feel connected and supported. And so I encourage you to check that out. And masterminds, they can be more formal and organized. They can also be a little more loose. So, one of the ones I'm in is an application based program, and that one's a bit more formalized. You know, we meet twice a month, we submit our questions in advance, we have certain dates and times where we get group coaching and we all share what we're working on. And that's awesome. And recently, I just created a separate mastermind moment with a friend where we've decided to come together 4 times a year and talk about what we want to do over the next 3 months. And that's been really beautiful too. And so I'm loving the masterminding. Love, love, love. In terms of what I'm leaving this week, I have found myself in a situation where I don't currently have access to my car. And it's a long story, but long story short is there's a lot of construction going on the street I live on right now. And over the last week, they've been pouring concrete, layer after layer after layer of concrete. And I didn't know this, but when you pour concrete, you can't drive on it for like 7 to 10 days. And basically, my car got stuck in the garage and I didn't have a chance to move it before the concrete started flowing. And so I've been without a car for 7 days now. It's just reminded me how much extra effort goes into not having a car. You have to plan ahead. You've got to schedule and pay for lifts. You have to walk places to get shit done. And normally I wouldn't mind, but it's been so hot. It's been in the 90s and it's been humid. And I feel like I can't stop sweating. I walked to get myself dinner a few days ago, and it was like 35 minutes one way to this restaurant, which isn't bad. But by the time I got there, I was so fucking sweaty that I was self-conscious to sit inside. I was like, you know what? I'm probably better suited for the patio at this point because I'm sweaty, you know? And I don't love that. That's not a cute look, but it's really kind of unavoidable. Basically, I'm leaving behind this concrete era of my life and really looking forward to getting my wheels back. Hopefully, it'll only be another few days, but at this point, I'm over it. I'm totally over it. So, there you have it. We are maintaining consistent routines on the road. We are loving masterminding, and we are leaving not having access to a vehicle in 90-degree weather. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate the time we spend every week. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star rating, leave me a review. The ratings and reviews really go a long way to help other people discover the show. And so I would absolutely love, if you have enjoyed the More Pod so far, for you to take a couple of minutes and let me know. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, send those stars through, baby. That's all I have. That's all I have for this week. I will talk to you soon. Listen to the More Pod every Wednesday as I share the things that make me more me and discover a thing or two to make you more you.